Okay, so let's dive in. We're kicking off today's deep dive, maybe surprisingly, not in some old ivy-covered library.
No. Think Melbourne's Docklands on one of those changeable spring days.
Right, the Docklands, often called a bit, well, soulless, wasn't it?
Yeah, by some critics. But for the author we're talking about today, Tigest Girma, that waterside spot, it's actually where she gets ideas flowing, especially for, dark magic and intense university drama.
Interesting. She finds the water helps when she's blocked.
Apparently so. That peaceful, reflective quality sparks creativity.
Okay, so that's our setting. And our mission today is really to get under the skin of Tigest Girma's journey. She's this really remarkable Gen Z author.
Became a New York Times bestseller before she even hit 27. That's pretty staggering.
And she did it by basically pioneering a whole new niche, right? This college dark academia with black vampires.
Exactly. It takes familiar fantasy ideas but flips them through this completely fresh cultural lens.
Her trilogy, starting with Immortal Dark. Tell us a bit about the core concept.
Okay, so it weaves East African mythology into a story about vampires, but vampires who originated in Africa. And they feed on specific human bloodlines.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and the first book, Immortal Dark, it follows this orphaned heiress. She's at this elite university, Uxlay, searching for her sister who's been abducted.
Now, here's something that struck me looking at the sources. Girma herself is described as like really easygoing, laughs a lot, laid back.
Yeah, there's definitely a contrast.
But the worlds she creates are so dark, full of danger, complex mythology, moral gray areas. It doesn't sound like simple escapism.
No, I think you're right. It suggests her work is maybe more about processing some pretty real-world stuff.
Which leads us to her background, I guess.
That's the key, really. To get the world she built, you have to start with her own life experience. Migration, specifically, that shock of moving west. Let's go back to Ethiopia.
Right. She moved with her family from Addis Ababa to Deer Park in Melbourne. She was 13.
13. That's a tough age for any move, let alone internationally. And the culture shock, especially around school, was huge for her.
She had expectations based on American TV, right?
Yeah.
Like Hannah Montana,
Yeah.
iCarly.
Exactly. Lockers, big proms, those kinds of classic high school tropes.
But Australian high school wasn't like that at all.
Not even close. No big formal dances, different social structure, and crucially for her, no familiar faces.
That isolation must have hit hard. She talks about walking into school and just scanning the crowd.
Yeah, looking for someone who looked like her and realizing no one's there. Just that instant awareness of being othered.
She said, oh, this is going to be my reality now. That's wow, at that age.
And it wasn't just passive isolation. It became quite challenging. She faced some really ignorant questions from classmates.
Did you write a line to school? Like, one is just shocking.
It really is. So she wasn't just trying to fit in. She was constantly having to defend Ethiopia, push back against this stereotype of it being just, a really poor, poverty-ridden country.
Which she clearly stated was not my reality. It puts this incredible burden on a kid.
Absolutely. And that constant need to defend, to explain, it's exhausting. But it also builds something else.
It's like a drive.
Exactly. She felt that because she was starting from scratch, felt so different, being just ordinary wasn't really an option for her.
So being othered actually pushed her to excel, to perform better, as she put it.
Precisely. She felt she had to outperform, almost to justify her place against those stereotypes. You can see how that connects to her later achievements.
Okay, so this intense pressure, this isolation, where did she find some breathing room? Some kind of sanctuary?
Well, perhaps unsurprisingly for a future author in books.
The school library became her refuge.
Completely. She just devoured novels, especially paranormal romance series. Think Twilight, Vampire Academy.
Interesting choice. Why those, do you think? They're pretty dramatic, high-stakes plots.
She actually described them as feeling safe, comforting somehow. She felt she could use the drama in those stories to figure things out, to navigate and be more courageous and braver in the world.
So fantasy wasn't just escape, it was like training.
Kind of, yeah. A training ground for building real-world confidence.
Okay, but here's a twist I found really interesting. When she first started writing her own stories as a teen, she wrote white characters.
Yeah. That's a really telling detail, isn't it? About the state of fantasy publishing back then and representation.
She actually said she could not even conceive of us, meaning black people, in that fantasy world.
Just think about that. The heroes she was reading just didn't look like her, so she didn't even realize it was possible for them to exist in those stories.
It really shows the power of seeing yourself reflected, doesn't it? So what changed? What allowed her to break out of that?
She points to a couple of big cultural moments in her early 20s. First, obviously, the massive success of Black Panther in 2018.
Right, a huge blockbuster showing a thriving, technologically advanced African nation, a direct counter-narrative.
Exactly. And the second thing was seeing Tomi Adeyemi's YA fantasy, Children of Blood and Bone, specifically seeing a black girl on the cover.
She said that blew my mind.
Yeah. It just opened up the possibility space. It showed that black protagonists could lead these big, epic fantasy stories.
So those shifts created the mental space for her own big idea.
Seems like it. And the actual lightning strike moment, it came during Melbourne's long COVID lockdowns, April 2021.
Right, everyone was stuck inside, reflecting.
She was rewatching Twilight with her older brother, of all things.
Okay.
And bam! The idea hits her. She grabs her phone, types in one question. What if vampires originated in Africa?
That's it, the genesis.
That one question unlocked everything. It let her bring together her love for paranormal romance, her East African heritage and mythology, and this now urgent desire for black representation.
And that's where the pitch came from. College, dark academia with black vampires.
Precisely. It's such a concise, powerful pitch.
Maybe we should quickly explain dark academia for listeners who aren't familiar.
Oh, right. Good idea. So, dark academia. It's an aesthetic, a vibe, really. Think elite universities, often old, maybe a bit gothic. Lots of focus on literature, classics, secret societies, and often a sort of morally ambiguous, maybe even dangerous atmosphere.
Traditionally very white, very European settings.
Very. So by adding black vampires and grounding the mythology in Africa, Girma instantly gave it this completely new, vital dimension, infused it with cultural richness.
It's a brilliant concept. But brilliant ideas don't always get published, right? We need to remember her journey before this.
Absolutely, Moshul. Her first novel attempt, she said, was whitewashed, and she never even sent it out.
Okay.
Then her second and third novels, these were set in Ethiopia. They did have black characters. They were rejected by publishers.
So she'd already faced that barrier. That makes her perseverance even more impressive.
It really does. She believes she could make black fantasy as great as I can, even when the industry maybe wasn't quite there yet. That internal conviction is key.
And she didn't just wait for publishers. She tested the idea herself.
Yeah, just days after having the idea, she put that teaser on Twitter. College dark academia with black vampires.
How did that go?
Got about 200 likes, which might not sound huge now, but for her, she said it changed her life.
Because it was instant proof of concept.
Exactly. People immediately replied saying, yes, please, we want this. It confirmed there was a hunger for it.
And that feedback, combined with her own experiences of feeling excluded,
Yeah.
it really cemented her mission, didn't it?
Totally. She became very clear about her goal, creating a world where black people, especially black girls, are desired, wanted, and we get the handsome guy, making her books a safe place for all black girls.
That's powerful. And the market clearly agreed.
Overwhelmingly. Immortal Dark hits the New York Times bestseller list for young adult hardcover. Huge validation.
And it's the start of a trilogy.
Yes. She apparently hates saying goodbye to characters she loves too quickly, which I think many readers can relate to. So yes, a trilogy. The sequel, Eternal Ruin, is actually out very soon, October 28th.
Okay, so bestseller status, critical acclaim, a confirmed audience.
You'd think that would silence any self-doubt, wouldn't you?
You would think. But one of the most striking things she talks about is how the doubt, well, it doesn't just vanish.
Really, even after all that success.
That's what she says. When asked about doubt, her response was basically, it never left. She said she could talk about it for like an hour, especially as a black author breaking new ground. That doubt is never going to leave you.
That's quite a thing to grapple with. The evidence is right there. Bestseller lists, book deals. How does that work?
It's a real paradox, isn't it? She even shared this specific story about writing the third book.
Okay.
Even with 2 successful books under her belt, she said doubt was on my shoulder, screaming at me that you can't do this again.
Wow, screaming at her, even with proof she could do it. Twice.
It's like past success doesn't register with that internal critic. Why do you think that is, especially when you're carving out a totally new space? Maybe because, well, if you're the first, there's no established path, no safety net. Every step still feels like a risk, maybe.
I think that's exactly it. Her insight was basically, doubt doesn't care what you have done before. Doubt lives in the present moment, facing the blank page. Past successes, well, it's pass.
So external validation, even her own track record, wasn't enough to fight it off. She needed something internal.
Right. She had to build her own coping mechanism. She talks about two things. One, getting comfortable with failure, failing fast, learning, moving on.
Okay, makes sense.
And two, crucially, stop looking outside for validation. Stop needing external approval to believe in the idea or in herself.
That internal shift must have been huge.
I think so. And it's probably why hitting the bestseller list with Immortal Dark felt like more than just a personal win.
It was proof of concept for everyone.
Yeah, she saw it as, we proved something here. Proof that there's a real need, a real demand for Black fantasy, and that these books can be loved widely by non-Black readers, too. Her personal struggle validated a whole market.
So tracing it all back, you have the experience of being othered, fueling this intense drive, finding comfort and courage in fantasy, seeing that representation gap, and then taking this bold leap.
A complete stab in the dark, as you said earlier, with an idea the market was absolutely ready for, even if the traditional gates hadn't fully opened yet.
The big takeaway, again, for you listening, has to be about the power of seeing yourself represented. It's not just a nice to have, it's fuel.
It's fuel for creativity, for courage, for defining identity, and as Girma proved, it's fuel for creating something commercially massive that fills a real need. Diverse stories aren't just important, they're often untapped gold mines.
Which leads us perfectly to our final thought for you to chew on. It comes from Girma's idea about internal validation.
Right, she says, if you're always looking outside, it's never going to be inside of you. You're not going to be able to manifest it within yourself.
So here's the question. When you're pursuing something truly new, something path-breaking, where there is no external validation yet, how do you keep finding that belief inside yourself?
Especially when, as Girma experienced, even your own past successes, your own proof, can't silence that voice of doubt screaming on your shoulder. How do you keep manifesting belief internally against that noise?
That's the challenge, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
something to think about.